Tonight, would you eat lab-produced meat? Scottish scientists are working on just that, and it could be the biggest revolution in the food industry to date. But is it palatable to the public?
The main thing is we don't have to kill any animals. We can potentially just take a sample from an animal and then we'll have unlimited amount of cells that we can use over and over again.
Also making the headlines, hundreds gather to remember Amen Taclai at the spot where the 15-year-old boy was murdered in Glasgow. Dozens are rescued after a crash between a cargo ship which set sail from Grangemouth and an oil tanker. Jet fuel has spilled into the North Sea.
You can dance, you can jive.
And Scottish singer Callum Beattie makes his superfan Sophie's day with a dream performance on her doorstep. I'm Kellyanne Woodland. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. It could be the biggest revolution in food production we've ever seen, and Scottish scientists are at the heart of it. A company based at Roslin in Midlothian, where Dolly the sheep was cloned nearly 30 years ago, is developing techniques to cultivate real meat in the lab without any animals having to be killed. Supporters say it could help feed the world and benefit the environment. Here's our senior reporter, Gordon Cree.
In the Roslin Technologies Lab, they're working on what could be the future of our food. Tiny cells from animals are cultivated in a way that they can be grown and grown, potentially forever. And there's an opportunity to adjust it to deliver meat with the right texture and, they hope, taste.
So the main thing is we don't have to kill any animals. We can potentially just take a sample from an animal and then we'll have unlimited amount of cells that we can use over and over again and just create as much meat as we like. The other thing is its sustainability. At the moment, farm animals use a lot of resources for food and they produce a lot of gases. And whereas if we are able to scale up really well in bioreactors, that potentially would use a lot less resources and be able to create just the same amount of meat, or if not even more.
What we've seen in the lab here is at the moment still on a fairly small scale, but they're getting ready to go bigger. This is a 50-litre bioreactor which will produce the material needed to make meat in bigger quantities. And then the aim ultimately is to do it on a vast scale.
This company is one of 8 now working with the Food Standards Agency to help develop regulations ensuring the final products are safe to eat. A few miles away at Springfield Farm near Pennycook, they rear animals for meat. And the view here is there will always be a demand for knowing exactly where your food comes from.
We can tell people exactly which field these cattle were raised on, where these lambs were born, and I think that it's a lot nicer process and experience for people to actually come and speak to us, and they will understand how that animal has lived.
From shoppers in Edinburgh, some scepticism about meat from a lab.
No way.
What was your concern about it?
I just don't think it's natural.
They're messing with things I guess they shouldn't be.
It's not natural, I suppose, yeah.
Is it better off with the real thing, you think?
I think I would be, yes.
But the scientists hope in the fullness of time and with tight safety rules, the proof of the pudding, or more likely the main course, really will be in the eating. Gordon Cree, STV News, Midlothian.
A 14-year-old boy is due in court after being charged in connection with the death of schoolboy Amen Taclai. As the police investigation continues, crowds gathered yesterday evening to pray with the family in the streets where the 15-year-old died. The teenager's friends also held a vigil in the football park where he played. During both events, Amen's father urged people to work together to make Glasgow safer for all. Here's our chief reporter, Sharon Frew.
Remembering Amen. On the street where he died, they gathered to mourn and offer comfort. As the light faded, members of the Eritrean community came to stand with the teenager's father and extended family as church leaders led prayers. Some passers-by and residents also stopped to pay their respects.
Amin was a remarkable young man, loved by everyone who knew him.
Just 2 hours before, the 15-year-old's relatives had joined his school friends and wider community for a vigil near his home. Amin had lived in Glasgow for 8 years and had recently been granted the right to remain. On the pitch where the keen footballer played, a minute's silence was held. Young people were urged to think of their favourite memory of their friend, who will be forever 15. A message from Amin's father was read out to the crowd.
I want to express my heartfelt gratitude for your presence and support during this incredibly painful time. This city is our home, and it is only through working together that we can make it safer for everyone.
His friends wrote personal messages on balloons, which they then released to celebrate a young life.
He meant so much to so many people. I'm very conscious that this won't be the only thing that happens. I've been speaking already, some young people said, well, can we plant a tree, can we get a bench, could we have maybe a garden? That grief is very much still there until such times as we can move forward with looking at a funeral and things like that. This is really what we need to do to bring everyone together.
The tributes left behind reflect that deep sorrow and shared feelings of disbelief at the events of last Wednesday. Sharon Frew, STV News, Glasgow.
Now, a first-time mum grieving the death of her baby girl says more scans during pregnancy should be made available on the NHS to avoid tragic losses. Jade Hutchins' daughter Luella was stillborn at 38 weeks, but a post-mortem revealed her placenta had stopped growing at 24 weeks, a month after her last routine scan. A warning, Caitlin Hutchison's report contains distressing details about stillbirth.
Grief is something, it's unbearable, No human being should experience a loss as tragic as this.
When Jade was told that her unborn daughter's heart had stopped beating, she went into immediate shock. Within a matter of hours, she delivered her 38-week-old baby, Luella, who was sadly stillborn. She'd had concerns throughout the pregnancy, but says as a first-time mum, they were brushed off as normal.
I had told the doctors what type of symptoms I had, I felt that something wasn't right. Excruciating back pain, tight pains around the stomach, really bad sickness. I felt like I needed more scans. Unfortunately, I wasn't given those scans. I felt like I just got ignored, and just pushed to the side. If I was listened to more, she could have maybe have been here.
A post-mortem by NHS Forth Valley revealed that Jade's placenta stopped growing at 24 weeks, 1 month after her last routine NHS scan. Now she's calling for more screening, especially for mums who can't afford to go private, and better support for those dealing with birth trauma.
I feel like there's not been any support at all, I've been trying for the past year nearly to try and get counselling, and I just feel like no one's really interested.
The baby loss charity SANS says the topic remains taboo, despite around 13 babies dying shortly before, during or soon after birth every day in the UK.
At the moment, there are still many causes of stillbirth that aren't understood and they can't be predicted. We actually have a list of things in SANS that people should never say to somebody affected by baby loss. Things like, at least you didn't get to know the baby, at least you know you can get pregnant, it'll be okay when you have another one. And it is ignorance, it is that people don't know what to say.
The Scottish Government says pregnant women are offered monitoring in a range of ways, and in some cases extra scans beyond the standard 2 are advised. NHS Forth Valley says anyone with concerns about their care should contact the patient relations team, something Jade fully intends to do.
It'll be a year in June and we'll never forget her, it's tough every day.
Caitlin Hutchison, STV News.
More than 30 people have been brought ashore after a cargo ship which had sailed from Grangemouth crashed into an oil tanker in the North Sea. Clouds of black smoke billowed into the air after the collision just off the coast of Yorkshire this morning. The most recent reports say the crews of both ships are safe and accounted for, with one person in hospital and 36 others rescued. Here's the moment the Coast Guard raised the alarm about the collision.
So Long has collided with tanker Stena Immaculate in the outer anchorage. Both vessels are abandoning. Vessel Stena Immaculate is carrying Jet A1 fuel, which is on fire and in the water.
OK, well, our correspondent Neil Connery has the very latest from Grimsby on the Yorkshire coast.
Well, when we look at those dramatic pictures that have emerged during this day of this collision between this oil tanker and this cargo vessel, it is incredible to think this rescue operation has managed to get 37 people off those vessels. 36 of them didn't need treatment. We're still waiting for a condition update on that last individual, but it was a major rescue operation that swung into action. There were lifeboats from 4 RNLI stations along the east coast here, from East Yorkshire, from Humberside and from Lincolnshire as well. That gives you some indication of the scale of this operation. The commercial vessels as well receiving that mayday call, responding, and everybody's training and effort really responsible for what has happened here. Now, we understand that the oil tanker, the Stena Immaculate, was carrying jet fuel for the US military. It appears at this stage that the cargo vessel, which had set off from Grangemouth en route for Rotterdam, collided into that oil tanker. Now, there is a preliminary team from the Marine Accident Investigation Branch who have arrived here in Grimsby in the last few hours. Their job will be to talk to those who've survived all of this, to gather data from the vessels when they're able to be brought into dock, and try and build up a picture as to exactly what has happened here.
Neil Connery with the latest there. A woman has been sexually assaulted in Clydebank while another man stood by. Police say 2 people intervened to stop the woman being attacked in a car park near the Crescent shopping centre on Saturday night. The men left in direction of Dalmuir train station. A cargo ship which ran aground on Skye during the night. Lifeboat crews were called to assist the vessel, which was being pushed ashore by wind and the sea in the Breckish area. No one was injured. King Charles has officially launched the baton relay ahead of the Commonwealth Games coming to Glasgow next year. He placed his message to the Commonwealth into the baton before passing it on to Sir Chris Hoy, the first baton bearer. The relay starts in the Caribbean tomorrow.
It was a huge honour to receive the Commonwealth baton from the King, to be the first baton holder and to pass it on and to kick the relay off. 500 days to go to the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow. And as a proud Scot, it's great that the Commonwealth Games are back in Scotland next year.
Now, Argyll Bute is getting an extra £70 million over the next decade, hoping to bring badly needed jobs to an area struggling to build its economy. The UK and Scottish Government cash should also help improve infrastructure and restore the historic pavilion in Rothesay. Raheem Cham reports.
2, 3. It's been over 10 years since the Rothesay Pavilion last hosted a wedding, pantomime or a tea party. Much like the rest of the town, locals feel it has been forgotten about.
It's just a waste of money. All that money could have went into something else to better Rothesay, but here we are.
It's been lying that way for such a long time. It's just become where the end was getting done. It's all good news.
My daughter, when she was young, used to go there on her Saturday nights and things, and it's a good wedding venue and different things. Very good.
Well, I think it's been going on for a very long time and nothing really seems to be happening.
Rothesay's got nothing. Dunoon, Helens, but everyone else seem to get
nothing
things.
For kids or anything.
Nothing for kids.
Nothing
There's
for young
nothing.
kids.
But all that might soon change, thanks to restoration works to revive the once vibrant hub.
In 2010, the pavilion was added to the Buildings at Risk register, which led to its closure in 2015. The Rural Growth Deal is about to inject £9 million for its restoration works, which aims at reclaiming its cultural significance.
Thanks, Mario.
It marks the start of a 10-year investment program, pegged at £70 million for the region. Both governments have allocated £25 million each, while the council and its partners make up the rest.
Well, the growth deals are primarily interested in long-term economic growth. It sits above the ordinary investments that governments make, because this is a deal, a package that is informed by local priorities and then with UK government and Scottish government funding behind it.
It's investing in things that will grow for the future and industries that this area does very, very well to provide those jobs and careers for young people. So the whole genesis of this growth deal is to make sure that there's opportunities for young people, there's careers of the future, but there's also things for people to do on islands like this and in the rural areas.
The region suffers from a depleting young population and seasonal tourism jobs.
We'll try to do set up training specifically for the jobs that we're going to be doing. That's when SAMS comes in, who are very good on the marine side of it, because the blue economy is going to be huge for Argyll and Bute. If we can get that training up for that, Highlands and Islands Enterprise, increasing the space that they've got so that they can do training for people, and that means that they stay here rather than go to Glasgow or wherever it is for that. So the idea would be from the school into training, it's localised training, into industries that are localised.
Locals hope this new wave of financial support can help this seaside resort rediscover its prosperity. Raheem Cham, STV News, Rothesay.
OK, let's get all your sport now with Raman.
Your window to sport. C.R. Smith sponsors STV Sport.
Good evening. Brendan Rodgers says his players will be ready for this weekend's Old Firm derby after declaring Rangers stole their game in the last meeting at Ibrox. The champions are on course for the treble after easing into the semi-finals of the Scottish Cup with a 2-0 win over Hibs, with Dyson Maeda scoring yet again. After the defeat, Easter Road boss David Gray has challenged his players to continue their very good league form and secure third spot.
At this rate, this season's Premiership Player of the Season is a no-brainer. Dyson Maeda continued his fantastic form with the opening goal against Hibs to take his tally to 27 for the season.
I think he's an amazing role model. See, if you're a player, a young player coming through, and you want to give your honesty to the game and your work and intensity. But I think with him, it's just the confidence, I think, that comes with the finish and just having the calmness on the finish. So, he's been absolutely brilliant.
Early in the match, Jordan Smith produced a fine save to deny Callum McGregor. 10 minutes before half-time, Hibs suffered a blow when Nicky Cadden's game was cut short after sustaining a hamstring injury. Minutes later, Maeda gave the holders the lead.
Smith saves, but Maeda's there!
Rio Hatate came close to making it 2-0.
Oh, that's a wonderful strike, and matched by the save by Jordan Smith.
Celtic had to wait until added time to make sure of their place in the semi-finals, with Adam Ira scoring his first goal in 5 games. David Gray was proud of his players' effort.
This is the toughest test in Scottish football. Coming to Celtic Park, we've been unfortunate to draw them twice in both cups now away from home, which is a tough test in itself. But we can't dwell on it. We need to then dust ourselves down quickly because we're still on an incredible run on our league form. As I've said, hardest place to come and play Scottish football. So we've got a real difficult test next week away to Kilmarnock. That doesn't get any easier and a different challenge altogether.
Next up for Celtic, the visit of Rangers on Sunday.
Well, Celtic, Hearts and Aberdeen are all through to the semi-finals. The last of the quarter-finals takes place tonight as Livingston hosts St Johnstone. Live now to Jamie Borthwick, who is at Almondvale Stadium. Jamie.
Yes, Ram, an intriguing one here tonight. Livingston, the only non-Premiership team now left in the competition, flying high in the Championship and aiming for promotion. And then you've got St Johnstone embroiled in a relegation battle in the Premiership. Now, Livingston are actually still battling on 3 fronts. They're third in the Championship table, 6 points off the top. They also have an SPFL Trust Trophy final against Queen's Park to look forward to at the end of this month. But tonight, it's all about getting their name into the hat for the semi-finals and a trip to Hampden.
It's definitely a winnable tie for us. It's probably a tie Simmel was probably looking at and thinking I'd rather get Livingston. He'd rather be at home, I'd imagine. But it's definitely a winnable tie from our point of view, which is refreshing. Previous years we've been like Parkhead, Celtic away, Aberdeen away, Rangers away, so difficult ties, but there's a genuine opportunity for us to progress to the semi-final.
Well, one man in the Livy ranks who knows all about what it takes in this tournament is Ryan McGowan, a goal scorer in the 2012 Cup final as Hearts lifted the trophy with a 5-1 win over Hibs.
I remember a lot of players saying that you don't kind of get those opportunities to progress and make Scottish Cup finals. So, like I said, this playing group could maybe do something a little bit special this season, and that starts on Monday night, making sure we beat St Johnstone. It's a huge opportunity. We're at home, which we wanted before the draw came out, and then we've got St Johnstone, which is a winnable game. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure that St Johnstone players and fans would be thinking the same coming here.
Stevie May misses out for Livy. Tonight he can't play against his parent club, St Johnstone. The Saints have Benji Kimpioka and Victor Griffith available again. One of these teams will take their place in the hat for the draw that will take place immediately after the match. Kick-off here in West Lothian is at 7:45.
Amavale, thanks very much for that. On to rugby, and Scotland winger Darcy Graham says the team will need to be ruthless if they are to defeat France in their final Six Nations match this weekend. Gregor's Hounds side looked on course for an emphatic victory against Wales on Saturday. They led 35-8 after 50 minutes, scoring 5 tries, but the visitors hit back with 3 unanswered tries to make for a nervy ending, with the Scots winning 35-29. France stunned Ireland in Dublin. Their 42-27 victory moved them to the top of the table.
We need to go over there and be ruthless. We need to play 80 minutes and back ourselves and go over there with the belief we can win. And as I said, it's a hard place to go. The French are unbelievable, but we need to be more ruthless.
It's a huge opportunity for us, and I think, like I said before as well, it's just taking the momentum from the game, the fix-ups, and just going and leaving it all out there. It's our last game for the Six Nations. A huge win out there.
And finally, tributes have been paid to Dick McTaggart, Scotland's only Olympic boxing champion, who has died at the age of 89. He won gold in the lightweight division at the Melbourne Games in 1956 at the age of just 21. He also claimed bronze at the following Games in Rome, as well as winning gold and silver medals at the Commonwealth Games.
Your window to sport. C.R. Smith sponsors STV Sport.
That's just about it for me tonight, Caroline. Tomorrow we'll be speaking to Scotland head coach Steve Clarke, who names his squad for the upcoming Nations League playoff against Greece.
All right, Raman, we'll hear from you tomorrow then. Thank you. OK, let's see how the weather's looking now with Sean.
A breezy morning will be followed up with a flurry of fresh delights for lunch. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Very good evening to you. Well, it certainly felt quite spring-like at the weekend. What I like to call fall spring. We get a few fall starts, of course, in March and April, even May still we can get some colder air. And of course, lots of people rush out to get their bedding plants. First time we get some nice weather for it then to turn cold and frosty. Now this week, there will be little touches of frost around with colder air. This is the city centre in Glasgow. Temperatures about 2 or 3 degrees Celsius. It could be wee touches of frost in more rural spots as we head further out. And in Carluke, probably one of the chilliest spots this week. Even here, the temperatures are only -1, -2 potentially. Daytime values about 6 degrees Celsius. So it isn't overly extreme. It's just a huge change from the 15s and 16s we had during the weekend. So feeling a little bit chillier this week. But if you can get out of breeze, in the sunshine, which is getting stronger all the time, hopefully not feeling too bad. Tonight though, cold night, frosty night, especially further south, South Lanarkshire, South and East Ayrshire, the borders, Dumfries and Galloway, temperatures down to about -1, -2. We hang on to a few very isolated showers across the Highlands. Now tomorrow morning for most of us it's a dry, sunny start to the day, but we'll see a bit more cloud and some scattered showers coming in from the north during the afternoon. So a few showers in the afternoon, temperatures about 7 or 8 degrees Celsius. And generally because it's a northerly, there should be a fair amount of dry weather through this week. Just a few scattered showers at times and temperatures still around 7 or 8 degrees. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And finally from us, Scottish singer Callum Beattie has delighted his biggest fan with a dream performance at her home to thank her for all her support. It's the first in a series of special performances Callum has planned for his loyal fan base ahead of his first solo headline show at the Hydro later this year. Well, Laura Boyd went along to hear more from Callum and superfan Sophie.
You can dance, you can jive.
It's a personal performance that meant the world to dancing Queen Sophie, Callum Beattie's biggest fan.
Did you get a real surprise? Yeah. And is he your favourite singer in the world?
Yeah, hi, Bryce.
Oh, yeah.
Bless your heart. You said it was Robbie Williams, but
Callum, he's a close second. It's like, Callum, tell me about why you've been surprising fans on their doorstep.
I guess one of the best things is you can make people happy through music. And obviously I've known Sophie for a long time now because we were working for Ups and Downs theatre group, weren't we? A lot of the people that work there have all got Down syndrome. But it's great fun, isn't it?
And kind-hearted Callum is set to join the Ups and Downs performers every night this week at Hamilton Townhouse.
So they've chosen all the songs for me to sing and I can't sing any of them, which is really great. So thanks for that. Yes, and so we'll be doing that, raising as much money as we can so that the guys can all do it every year and enjoy themselves and express how talented they can be.
Well, every kid loves him. I can't even say that me a bad word about Callum at all. And I think the kids that actually sing better when they're on the stage with Callum. Sophie's obviously got anxiety, really bad anxiety, and she's got autism as well as having Downs. So things like this, you know what I mean, is really it's helpful. I think it's helpful for Sophie. She loves music.
What has Callum meant to her over the years?
She loves him. Loves him. The first time that she met him, she's like that. Mum, Callum, my husband. That's it. Love him. Love him.
Callum got his own surprise recently when his manager announced that he would be headlining the Hydro in November.
It was very emotional, but it is very emotional. But I've got people like Sophie fighting my corner, don't you? So we're going to be fine when we get up there on the night.
Whether it's Hamilton or the Hydro, it sounds like there are plenty of dates with Callum to enjoy. Laura Boyd, STV News.
Oh, just wonderful. Well, that's it from us. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Bye-bye.